Now we have live on Under the Mat Radio for the first time. Newly signed New Japan Pro Wrestling talent and great wrestler internationally. He's wrestled all over New Japan Pro Wrestling and Japan, wrestled all over the world. Former Ring of Honor star Kenny Omega. Welcome to Under the Mat Radio.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, you can.
You can? Okay, great. Hello, yeah. Just like you guys said, just signed with New Japan, and I'm the real deal here, Kenny Omega calling, and just happy to chat with you guys. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you, brother. We've been negotiating this for about a few months now, so we're glad that we finally was able to come up with a date so we can bring you on.
Yeah, it's so rare that I can actually get on the phone and have a chat with people, on the other side of the planet. So for us to kind of come together here and make it happen, I'm pretty happy. I literally do like one interview a year, so you guys get my time for that interview.
Wow.
Thank you.
It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. And Kenny, sit back, relax, have fun. Now, you say from the other planet. Now, where are you at currently right now?
Right now, I'm with my family in Winnipeg, Canada, but usually I'm in Japan or just like I'm never really in one place at one time for too long, so there'd be no way for me to do one of these types of interviews on a tour bus or in a hotel room somewhere. Like, it would just be impossible. So for me to kind of be sort of in between changing over my visa, I actually have time to sit down and talk on the phone. So it just worked out that the time slot that you guys had for me was when I was here in Canada. So thank goodness for that.
Yes, it is. And with that being said, Kenny, here Under the Mat Radio, we've had the blessing and the honor of having great legends, local wrestlers, referees, belt makers, actors, Hollywood producers, or what have you. We're glad to have you on. We go sheet style, brother. We talk about anything and everything. We done talked about government cheese. We done talked about subs. We done talked about wrestling and what forth. With that being said, you're famous for this. Hadouken. Your wrestling style. Use a lot of
moves, a
lot of video game moves. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my great co-host and professional video gamer, NXT Gameboy. I'm going to let him take it over from here.
All right,
Kenny, first of all, let me say, it was exciting to have you finally on the show. I've been following your work for a few years now. And before we got on air, I went over my notes and everything, and I have to be ecstatic that you, a fellow video gamer like myself, and a professional at what he does as a wrestler. And my first question is this. What inspired you to incorporate these video game techniques and Street Fighter-like moves into your wrestling persona?
Well, man, I'll be honest. After getting my developmental deal with WWE, I came back and I was going to retire. I kind of had enough. And I just felt that, if I really didn't feel like I could do the programmed robot type thing. It was very difficult for me to become just kind of like a cookie cutter of what they wanted and be happy with it. So when I came back and started to do the indies again, I thought, I'm just going to be myself. And if nobody likes it, well, then I guess, there's really no place for me in professional wrestling. But if people like it, then it's going to be easy for me to continue on because it's just me being me. And even at the end of the day, if, in my local indie fed here in Winnipeg, they don't like it, well, at least I'll be happy just doing this as a hobby locally. It was more just so I could stomach being a professional wrestler at the time. And thankfully, somehow people kind of, liked what I was doing, and they could really relate to the kind of things that I was doing. And I mean, when I was doing things like Hadouken and stuff, there was no Street Fighter 4, and I think at the time, Third Strike was out, but there's really, no scene locally in Winnipeg, but everybody knows Street Fighter 2. So it kind of became popular, and even when I used it in other areas, people knew what it was, and I'm just lucky that, even though I'm kind of, too much of a maniac gamer, that at least the games that I'm referencing, they're kind of universal. Everybody knows.
Well, as a fellow gamer, I am ecstatic to have you represent in the video game culture and add it to your repertoire. It's humorous, but at the same time, you make it work, and that's what I guess
No, I 1,000% devote myself to it, man. Like,
yeah, you can see it. You can actually see it. Like, you
mean, like,
when you do it.
I could easily joke around and throw air at a guy, but 9 times out of 10, I'm coming at the guy and hitting him as hard as I can in the face. Sure, like I yell Hadouken and stuff like that, but I'm trying to make it like a legitimate move in my arsenal, so that even in a place that features strong style like New Japan Pro Wrestling, I can use a Hadouken and it's believable.
Well, it looks very good from over here, and I'm not the person in the ring with you. So trust and believe, you have my vote.
So when you think you were a pro gamer, by the way, is it okay if I ask a question too?
Yeah,
I'm really curious about. Yeah, I'm really curious about you being a pro gamer. What game is it that you went pro with?
I went pro in Tekken and Street Fighter.
Oh, okay. And Street Fighter too.
I was East Coast champion back in like 1999, 2000.
You're like Dark Side Phil era.
No, I beat Brahim, a guy named Brahim.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I beat Brahim back in I think it was like 2000, 2001 at ECC. I beat him. And they, I'm the only guy from Maryland who really kind of put Tekken on the map back then. And I faded off. I'm in my 30s now, so I got kids and relationships.
Yeah, that makes both of us, man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and on another note, I know your birthday's coming up, so happy birthday.
It actually is, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm lucky. I was able to spend Canadian Thanksgiving and even my birthday here in Canada, so it's been a good week, and here we are. It's part of the celebration here.
Real quick, guys. I believe we have a phone caller. Real quick, area code 814. Welcome to Under the Mat Radio with Kenny Omega, Tech, and NSC Gameboy.
Yeah, my question's for Kenny. Were you afraid when you wrestled that 9-year-old Japanese girl in Stardom?
Yes, I was. I was terrified. I'd actually had a couple of accidents in my Japanese wrestling career. If anyone, for the people that aren't familiar, there was a really strange accident. I did Ibushi and myself, my tag team partner, we did a double moonsault to the outside. And when we did it, the two guys we were hitting fell backwards and collided skulls. So one of the guys, he really messed up his head and his neck. And generally I was kind of, like in the fans' eyes, I was sort of blamed for it. Another accident happened with Marufuji, so I was kind of, I was scared that, I'm going to wrestle, and I want to make it believable against a 9-year-old girl, who I think was only 7 or 8 at the time, actually. But I knew it was a chance. It was a great opportunity to really show that something special, something that no one else could ever do. And I didn't want to just, like, a lot of wrestlers, they take themselves too seriously, and they would, not even take the chance to even try to wrestle a girl. But I wanted to tell a story and make it really entertaining just for the fans there that were in attendance. And the girl herself wanted to be an actual successful professional wrestler, so I wanted, if I could, help her out in any way possible. And somehow, I'm not even sure how, but the footage turned up like on the internet the next day, and people from all over the world were watching it. It's one of my most proud performances in my life, but I mean, times when I was going to do like the enzigiri and stuff like that, I mean, had I made any contact whatsoever, I would have knocked the girl's head off, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and at any point in time, there could have been an international incident, and I knew that I was kind of putting it on the line. I knew it could end my career. I mean, who's going to want to work with a guy that killed a 9-year-old, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not good for anybody. But I knew that I really trusted myself. I knew that if anyone could do it, that it was me. It was sort of like a test of, everything that I had done, everything that I had practiced up to that point. I wanted to make it work. And I don't know, I feel so lucky that a lot of people that watch it, do like the match. I mean, a lot of people hated it too, but generally it got positive reviews. So, but yeah, I mean, I was scared before the match. I was scared during the match. I was even scared after the match. I was getting death threats over the internet. So yeah.
Wow. Cheeky, do you have any more questions for Kenny Omega?
My second question would be, have the Hardy Boys ever tried to recruit you for Omega Wrestling since your name's so similar?
Yeah, it's very similar. It's my last name, my last birth name, so my family name. I've met Jeff once at the Tokyo Dome like 2 or 3 years ago, and he was a real cool guy, but I don't think he was familiar with anything that I do. And as for Matt, I've never met him before either, so I don't think they know that I even exist, but I of course would love to go there. I think it'd be a great time.
Okay. Well, Cheeky, thanks, buddy, for calling in, man.
Yeah, thanks for the questions, man.
Well, one of our first listeners and first fans from when we first started over a year and a half ago. We thank him for calling. Kenny.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you.
First thing, you mentioned, I told story, me, NFC Gameboy, we're big otakus, big into anime, big anime convention. They comes here in Baltimore, which is the second biggest in the world, is Otakon. And the first match I saw of you, they normally had the Japanese wrestling panel, big ups to Timothy Walls, who's a part of the wrestling crew and used to run a panel. They showed a match with you and a little girl, a 9-year-old girl, and I'm like, wow, he's actually wrestling a 9-year-old girl. But it was great because, here in the States, the U.S., they'll never let that happen. They definitely won't let that happen. But the fact
I'm not even sure if they let it happen in Japan again, to be honest, but yeah.
Wow. The fact that you wrestled the 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and the match itself was great. It was better than a lot of current wrestling you see on TV against two men. So that was my first introduction to you, and since then, and the fact that you use a lot of video game moves and Street Fighter moves, I thought it was cool because it kind of broadens your fan base instead of just pure wrestling. Even somebody that may not be into wrestling that may be into video games or comic books say, hey, wait, he's doing a dual game. Wait a minute, I know that. Let me watch his matches. So I think that was genius on your part that you started doing it.
That's sort of been my MO. I mean, realistically, a lot of people that I wrestle with, their passion is wrestling. It's the most favorite thing to them, the most important thing to them. But for me, I have so many other things in my life that I love. I love video games and anime just like you guys. I love reading comics, love watching TV dramas, movies, just as much as I love to wrestle. So I wanted to, have a style that wasn't just for wrestling fans. I want a style that anybody can watch and take something from. If I'm trying to be funny, I don't want just a wrestling fan to think that it's funny. I want anybody that watches the match for it to find it funny. That's just sort of the way I always, and I think that's why a lot of hardcore critics don't really like me so much. But it's because I'm wrestling for everybody, not just for the people that take wrestling too seriously. So if I can have, people that say, "Oh man, I hate wrestling. Wrestling's gay," but that Kenny Omega match versus the 9-year-old girl was really funny and fucking awesome. I'm pretty happy. Those are the kind of people that I want to attract to professional wrestling, or at least to my matches.
Okay. All right. Also, too, with you. TNA just recently did that pay-per-view in Japan, and me and NC Gameboy, we had a chance to watch it, of course. It's a part of our
how was it?
radio.
I didn't see it.
It wasn't bad. We liked it. It was different, from WWE. A lot of our friends weren't used to the Japan culture, the Japanese culture, which will lead to my next question. So it was good watching our friends kind of react to the Japanese culture and to react how they do things. And the react to TNA just has, more so specifically wrestling instead of everything being storyline based and character driven. So if you can explain to some listeners that don't know the differences of wrestling in Japan as opposed to wrestling for the States.
I think it really depends on the type of match or the type of angle or the type of wrestler. I think in general, and this isn't really a knock to TNA, but I don't think in general, Japanese fans would like the TNA style.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much like hokey talking and like segments that don't really involve any wrestling or anything athletic. And of course, everybody in TNA speaks English, right? So I mean, even if there is an angle going on, it's not like they can understand it. And I find that when I watch TNA, even though their roster is incredibly talented, it seems that everyone's always rushing. It's like the time is given to the talking, so that when things are happening in the ring, everyone's rushing to get to the finish. And I think in Japan, it's the opposite. If you're going to talk, make it quick, tell the story with a match. But that being said, I never saw the pay-per-view. It might have been completely different. But from what I've seen from like TNA TV, that's sort of how I feel about the product.
And for you personally, Kenny, how was it for you adjusting to the Japanese culture?
Well, I was lucky that I sort of had a good introduction to DDT. I mean, I made that YouTube video of the Anywhere match where I'm kind of wrestling around, my cottage. And DDT fans are kind of wacky, so before even like arriving to DDT, they were already really excited to see me. So I sort of had that little bit of buzz. So the adjustment was really easy to do in ring and in the match. The more difficult adjustment was adjusting to the actual culture and the food and the language. And that was sort of like a really long, slow process. Because I mean, you're on your own to learn the language. You're on your own to figure out how to eat properly and maintain your diet and maintain your conditioning. And that took about 3 years to balance it all out and to get to like a level in my Japanese where I could converse and sort of survive. So yeah, the matches and stuff, that was easy. It was the other stuff, the after, before match kind of things. The times when I weren't wrestling, that was the most difficult.
Can you give us any, real quick before I turn it over to my co-host, could you give us any any story about how you had to adjust, the tough times that you had to adjust to the Japanese culture, whether it be food or after matches?
Well, I mean, before I went to DDT, I knew that there were really, really small indies, so I was just happy to get the offer to come out to Japan. And when I came out, they brought me over to their dormitory, and it's like watching like when you watch like a Ren and Stimpy cartoon, and they get like the close up of like a horrendous scene, and there's like I had like the dirty, filthy matches with like the spring popping out of it and stuff like that, like little flies buzzing around and stuff. You could just tell it was just a room that was left for years and years and years, and no one had touched. And like, okay, this is where you are. And it was in a really old part of Tokyo, barely in Tokyo, and so it was like a very senior citizen community. And a lot of the senior citizens, when they were young, had no need to speak English. There weren't English lessons in their school. So if I had any problems at a store or needed directions, no one could speak English to help me. So I was really on my own. Even when I took a shower, they got these weird it's like this weird gas contraption thing where you have to turn this knob, and like you have to turn it like left 90 degrees, then back up 45 degrees, then left again 180 degrees, then back again, and you have to do it like 5 times until this fire starts to like heat up your water. It's really weird. And the other challenge is finding a toilet where you don't have to do like the Shawn Michaels pose to take a dump. You know what I mean? It's like the little, you know what I mean? It's like the toilet. It's like an opening in the ground.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the Shawn Michaels toilet, but to find the Western style, sometimes it can be a challenge depending on where you are.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, it was things like that, just like little details. You know what I mean? But
right.
once you get used to it, and once you actually get more into like the epicenter of Tokyo, things are all like high tech and stuff. You don't really have a problem. but being like almost out of the city at first, and sort of in a really, really old, rundown building, it was difficult. But I'm glad I had to learn that way, because I sort of knew how bad it could be before getting to where I am now.
Just real quick before I turn over to NSC Gameboy, for anybody that wants to know about DDT, the promotion in Japan, from my viewpoint, this is one of my favorite promotions. This is one of the most random promotions. Anything, literally, and everything could be have been champion. They have an Ironman heavy metalweight championship. So not only have Heeman's been champion, few things that let you know that's held this championship. A ladder. 3 different ladders have won this championship. A Hello Kitty doll has won it. Another stuffed doll have won it. A monkey, a miniature dog has been champion. A pen of beer, a steel chair, the title belt itself. So it's a lot of different things that's been a champion.
I think my favorite two are a taxi cab driver and a swamp monster, but that's just me.
Well,
and strangely enough, I haven't actually. There's been like 1,000 champions or something, but I've never won the belt. It's crazy.
Wow. Well, that could be on your bucket list. Yeah, be on your bucket list.
I hope so. I got a couple more shows left at DDT, so I'll see what I can do.
NSC Gameboy?
Well, I'm going to go back to the video game world for a moment, and I want to ask you.
Yeah, please do.
What video game character would you would like to say that your wrestling model after? We know that you have moves that you...
Oh, damn. That's such a good question.
Character?
See, you know, I do the Hadouken, and so people automatically think that I'm trying to be like Ryu, but even when I play Street Fighter, I never mained Ryu. Like, when I played 4, I mained Zangief for a long time. And now I just got back into it after not playing since 2010. So I'm using Dudley and Cody. But for like a character, that's such a good question. I don't know, man. It's like...
Okay, I'll give you an example. My favorite Street Fighter character is Vega. I've loved Vega since 1992. Since I first seen him, Vega's always been my favorite character. Like, hands down. But my style, if I had to pick a style, I would say my style would probably still be Vega, because I like the assassin type of atmosphere. He's a fighter, but I'm not really with the pretty boy thing, but he's an assassin. Sure. He's like the claw, and he likes to be slick and bloody and all that, but he gets the job done. That's Shadow Liu. Hopefully my fans out there under the mat, y'all understand what Shadow Liu and all that is. Not go Wikipedia.
Hey, I understand it all.
So Kenny, what would you say? Like, you think maybe of Ryu? Ryu is Japanese.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, sort of. I would say it would be something between probably Ken and Dan, if we're gonna be honest.
Dang it!
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Well, you already have a stronger Hadouken than Dan, so.
Because Ken's got the confidence, and Dan's got the comedy, but Ken can actually get the job done when he has to. So I don't know.
That's interesting that you say that. That's true.
Just let anybody know.
I try there are really. I try to take a little bit from here and there. I mean, I even feel like, I don't know if you guys know anything about like SNK fighters and stuff, but I even try to be like a little wacky like Giori and stuff like that. Just like
cool.
With spastic movements and stuff.
Oh yeah, I know about the art of fighting. I know about the fatal fury. I mean, I love.
I'm sure the listeners don't know, so I don't want to quote too many like obscure things.
Yeah,
that's fine. But anybody that don't know anything we're talking about, we could easily get our correspondents just to post things up on the show wall. No problem, so they can understand it. And then something they had, we didn't have. We were cases Google. So Anybody that don't understand the references that Kenny Omega or the NSC Game Boy or Tekka mentioning, just use Google. Don't use
Just on a side note,
It's
you know what I hate about SNK games is the goddamn controls. Like, to do some of their super moves, it was like pretzel-like movements. Like, like
wacky.
I can do the Geese Raging Storm. If you're familiar with the character Geese, it is like a pretzel movement that you have to do. And Japanese players are so well at doing that, but American players, for some reason, most American players use controllers. I use an arcade stick, so I don't really use a controller. But it is so hard, and they can do it so fluently, and it angers me sometimes.
Like these blinks.
And they can just pull it off. I'm like, damn it.
I used to, before I signed with WWE, I was actually in university. I was studying to be studying to get my psychology degree, and I would end up skipping most of my classes to hang out at the arcade to play Capcom vs. SNK Millennium Edition. And like you said, Geese, the only guy that could use Geese, and he was unbelievable, was like he was this short little Chinese guy studying to get a PhD. And he was just a genius, Only a guy like that would be able to handle those kinds of controls.
Yeah. See, I used to cheat. Capcom vs. SNK2, if you had it on the GameCube, it was like a little mold card. What was it, Innocent Game Boy G-ism? We can use that with your yellow.
Yeah, you just press the direction and it does it for you.
And everybody with the Rising Storm, or was that my? Who was it? Was it my? Or one of the SNK girls had like a real long, like
fans or whatever.
Yeah, the real long directions to do the move. So that was pretty cool. Kenny, if you be out Ori, something cool, you dye your hair red and wear like some white face paint and just, keep your hair drenching wet. I think that would be cool in Japan. Have like a different evil side of Kenny Omega. Or to start,
I'm kind of looking towards a new image. I mean, I've just joined New Japan, and I don't want to just be like Kenny Omega from DDT signing a new contract. I'm looking to get a somewhat of a new look, new gear and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that it's going to be, something completely different from what people have seen up to this point. I mean, the movements and stuff, the moves and all that, it'll probably be the same. But, I'm hoping to bring at least something kind of new to the table.
Yeah,
you got to evolve.
You do, and unlike Capcom, but it's okay. You have to evolve, Kenny. Instead of doing it.
It's not really about like evolving. It's like there's a PWG Kenny Omega, and then there's a DDT Kenny Omega, and I just don't want now signing with New Japan. I just don't want to be DDT New Japan Kenny Omega. I want to be New Japan Kenny Omega. So that if you want to see a certain kind of match, you can go anywhere. You can, if you want to see a crazy match, versus the 9-year-old girl, where you can go to watch it. My American indie style at PWG is something completely different. I don't really do it in Japan. And, whatever happens in New Japan, I haven't really thought about it too much yet, but, I want that to be something kind of new and exciting as well.
Okay.
Hopefully something people like. I don't know.
With all the great moves you do, Kenny, can you perform a Hurricane Kick?
No, not at all. Actually, that was sort of one of the things that I wanted to try and do, to see if I could even, because you see like the Taekwondo masters, they can do the 720 kicks and stuff like that, and I wanted to try and get something like that. But I don't know why my body just doesn't like twisting too much. I can't get like a really like fast twist going. So I just kind of like go with the idea of the Hurricane Kick.
Speaking of video games.
Yeah.
What character do you hate? We all gamers here. We all have the one character that we just hate when someone chooses like, oh Lord, we gotta go against him. For me, in Street Fighter, anybody that NSC Game Boy, the reason why I hate Vega is because he's beat me so many times with Vega. So to this day, I hate Vega for passion. So even when I play at Otakon or play with my buddy, someone chooses Vega, I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. But of course, they're not nearly as good as NSC Game Boy. But I hate Vega. That's Street Fighter. That's the one character that I loathe and I can't stand the face. You, Kenny, who's the character in Street Fighter, any fighting game, that if someone would pick him, if I went against you, or Gameboy went against you, you'd be like, oh, crap.
Yeah. Well, for two different reasons, I have two different people. One is, like, right now is Evil Ryu. And the reason is because, like,
one of my favorites.
It's like a guy, I mean, lots of people watch Evo and stuff. It's like whoever Daigo picks, people are going to try and be Evil Ryu. And they're just trying to be, they're being like posers, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and they don't really know how to use them. They're just doing, like, low, medium kick Hadouken, low, medium kick Hadouken. You get close, they teleport away. And it's just garbage. So it's like boring fights, The other guy that I hate people choosing just because it's just kind of cheap and junky is when people pick Zangief and they just keep doing the lariats over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they'll just, because online play, if you don't have a good connection, you can just mash lariat and it's good on everything. You know what I mean? It's like a good anti or a good wake up. It's just you can never do it offline, but a lot of guys, really abuse the lariat online, just doing like low short lariat and stuff like that.
I'm thinking of Hugo. All those Hugo players and people.
Hugo is now kind of getting retarded, but because I played so many in Japan now, I can dispatch them easy. Yeah.
But
actually,
shout out to my
plays.
man, my homeboy NSC Nooch NSC for life. He is one of the best Dudley players in the world. He's finally cracked the top 10, the best Dudley players. If you ever come across a guy named NSC for life, he uses Dudley. He is my god brother.
What's his name? Sorry.
NSC for life. Just like my name is NSC
for life.
Gameboy.
Yeah.
He goes NSC for life. He uses Dudley.
I'm always looking to learn, man. So I would love to.
Oh, you can check him on. You can Google him. NSC Nooch.
Yeah,
Nooch. Yeah, that's my god brother. He is a beast. He's won many titles and stuff. And I played against Justin Wong for many years. I fucking hate Justin Wong. Justin, if you listen, you're my man. I fuss with you.
What's wrong with the guy?
When I played tournaments, I was one of the first people that played Justin back in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 before he started triangle jumping with Magneto and all those days. I was one of the first people he had to play, and he demonstrated that. And what Justin does, and if anybody out there is a gamer, I know we're a wrestling show, but goddamn it, listen. What he does is he puts you in a move. It's called an infinite, and an infinite combo is a combo which your person does to your opponent, which is me, the opponent, and I can't get out of it unless he either messes up or my character dies. But the part that really makes me angry is as he's doing it, he looks at you. So he's doing it out of muscle memory, but the whole time he's doing it, he's looking at you, and I used to hate that shit. Like,
execution is unbelievable.
Oh, I used to hate that. Oh God, he whew. But he's a great guy. I mean, shout out to Justin. We not personally close friends.
Tokyo Game Show. Oh, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No problem. I was just saying, if he hears this or whatever, I don't want the internet be like, oh, NSC Gameboy calling out Justin. No, I'm not calling out Justin to beat my ass. But he's one of those guys. Like, if he sees me, he knows me. But he's a great guy. I have nothing really bad to say about him. But go ahead.
Yeah, I saw him live at Tokyo Game Show for his exhibition against Daigo, and he lost the set, but his execution was flawless. He never dropped any combos. And when he plays, he looks like he's bored, but everything's coming out just so clean, so perfect. He has nothing to be ashamed of, at least in a Daigo. But it was a great set of matches. So I can understand the feeling of
who would now. Something real quick, Kenny, that I always wondered. Me and Gameboy talked about this. And then we'll go back real quick to wrestling.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about Guile. He's like the bastard son. First of all, anybody listening don't know.
The bastard.
He's the bastard because first of all, fans, Street Fighter 2 is not the first Street Fighter. There was a Street Fighter 1, which I own, and it's a Game Boy owns, and I hate that game. So,
oh, dude, I've had fucking nightmares. I spent an entire afternoon playing Street Fighter 1, and it must have been like 4 hours. It's so impossible to beat. It's so fucking cheap. And then you get that try again kid message, try again kid, Oh man.
It's hard to do.
I don't know. I had to like find out a way to trick the game to beat Sagat at the end. It was like a miracle that I was able to do it. But anyway.
It's people forget, and real quick because we have a caller, is that Guile was the poster boy. He was the John Cena of Street Fighter. He was the number one guy. And next thing you know, Ryu and Ken, Chun-Li, and to this day, you ask any random or even basic gamers, Street Fighter, Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Vega, M. Bison, the dude with the hat with the glowing eyes. Oh yeah, Guile. Oh yeah, I remember him.
But what's weird is the weird part about that is if you play any song from the soundtrack, I guarantee you'll recognize Guile's theme song the most, which is the crazy part. You know?
Right.
You see that YouTube video song, by the way, but at any time? Like, they had that YouTube video when you can play Guile's theme, like, for any moment. Like, at a funeral or at a wedding, like, at a NASA space launch or something. Like, you can play it, like, at a car crash. It's, like, the randomest moments that you can play it, and it's, like, it always fits. Like,
it's a real inspirational tune, yeah.
It really is. It is. Kenny, were you a fan of, and I'm being very sarcastic here, of the great Street Fighter movie, The Legend of Chun-Li?
Oh, my God. There's like a top 3 like worst movies of all time list, and it has entered it.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us your top 3 worst movies of all time.
Well, a lot of people would probably disagree, and they're in the top 3 because like I actually had kind of an expectation for them, but the Chun-Li movie is one of them. It might even be top number 1. The other one for me, a lot of people disagree, but the first Incredible Hulk that came out, I hated it.
Oh, God.
And, the remake or whatever, when they rebooted it, was good, I thought. And how they used them in Avengers and stuff, that was good, too. But I thought it was garbage. Just couldn't stand it. Just, pissed me off to watch it. And then another one that was just, really bad for me was, there are way worse movies, but I'm talking about movies that people hyped up and that people kind of like.
Right.
But it was, I guess it was Pitch Black, that Vin Diesel movie. You know, where Riddick or whatever.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So those 3 movies always kind of stood out for me as the worst I've ever watched.
You can't understand Vin Diesel. What are you saying, Vin Diesel? Wife beater in every movie. You can't understand nothing he says.
No. Yeah. So. I watched. Actually, you know what? I would have to say, I was at my cottage for a little bit, doing a little bit of a training program out there, and I thought, hey, I should watch some old '80s action movies. That's what I like to do in my spare time, for inspiration, So I thought, a lot of people love Chuck Norris because they bring up the Chuck Norris is so scary or whatever that he can bite your dick off or whatever. I don't know how it goes, but those Chuck, they were on the internet. I can't remember how they went, but.
The facts, right.
I thought, Chuck Norris must be a badass. He must have some pretty good movies. I couldn't remember any of them. So I had Delta Force to watch. And it was that might make the top 3 for sure. It was god-awful. The guy's got no charisma. His fight scenes are just god-awful. At least when you watch a Steven Seagal movie, he does, the cool, Aikido and stuff, and he's, hip-tossing guys through, glass cases and stuff.
He fights
poking their eyes out with his thumbs and stuff.
Right.
And then he'll say something cool, and he's very profane, and I like that. And then if you got Van Damme, he does the things like that, and he's jacked. Yeah.
Oh, strangling.
But
speaking
Chuck
of
Norris, he's just this skinny dorky-looking guy that says nothing and does nothing. Every now and then he'll do a weak-looking spin kick. I can't understand what made him so famous.
All right, don't forget
But
Walker
anyway.
Texas Ranger. Don't forget Walker Texas Ranger and those dungaree them jeans.
Yeah. I can't say I watched. I know what it is. Of course I know what it is. I think it always followed like my Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid, but I would shut it off right away. It just looked bad.
Kenny, for you, we will send you personally. We will send you the Chuck Norris sidekick. If you remember that spinning kick he did at the Royal Rumble. In WWF.
Yeah.
Was that Jeff Jarrett?
You know, that was probably the best kick he's ever done.
Right.
If we're going to be honest.
No, I'm sorry, it was Survivor Series 94, I believe. Or was it the Rumble 94? One of them. And
where he kicked Jeff Jarrett, right?
Yeah, he kicked Jeff Jarrett, right. Well,
now, had I watched that, I would have had even higher hopes for a Chuck Norris movie during my stay at the cottage. But yeah, what a disappointment. I mean, do you guys know of any good Chuck Norris movies? Because I certainly don't. Someone had suggested Missing in Action, but I think I'm done with Delta Force. I think it was in the second one too, but
I really can't think of a good Chuck Norris movie.
Can you count Return of the Dragon for good Chuck?
No. No,
that don't count.
It doesn't count, but well, I do count that other one. I can't remember what it was. Was it called Sidekicks or Sidekick or something?
Oh yeah, the one with the little white boy doing the nunchucks and stuff.
The kid from Sequest or whatever.
Yeah,
was it Jonathan Brandis or something?
That movie was alright.
It was good.
Yeah, that movie was alright. It was kind of like
Karate Kid. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
That's got to be the best Chuck Norris movie I've seen.
Yeah,
but anyway.
It just, like I said, that's the great thing about our show is that we talk about any and every. For you, Kenny Omega, being a great guest, if you want to know about Chuck Norris' filmography, there's Delta Force. You have the Expendables too, if you count that.
Oh man, that was like wasted screen time. I haven't seen the third one, but I mean, like second one, whatever. He just like walked on set and used a machine gun for like 5 minutes. I can't.
And left.
And
yeah,
apparently,
I mean, for me, I actually hate the Expendables. I think it's just like old guys trying too hard to be cool when I watch those movies.
It's like the Legends. It's like Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. That's why I watch them and respect it. Like for me, watching Expendables 1, the highlight for me, and it's not even because I'm a wrestler, was Stone Cold. Easily. He stood out by far as the best character in the movie. And then for me, in the second one, I thought everyone was garbage except for Van Damme, who played an awesome heel. Or bad guy, depending on what kind of...
Well, I will say The Expendables 3 is the best one out of the three. Because Mel Gibson did an excellent job as a villain.
I heard that too. My friend said that Mel Gibson was awesome.
Yeah, he did a good job as a villain. And the action scenes is not really the Expendables. It's the upcoming guys that's really in the movie that really makes the movie. Some of the action scenes and stuff that they do are really, really good. But Mel Gibson did an actual great job. And when you have an action movie and you got a great villain, of course, that make your movie that much better. But since we want action movies and stuff, we got to talk about comics. Kenny, we got to get your take on comics. Because we know you love wrestling. We know we love video games. We got to talk about the comics.
I like them all. Anime, comics, video games.
Yes. Well,
We've got
Kenny,
a lot of pastime.
Real quick, and this is a popular topic, and it's a Gameboy and a whole bunch of people. And big ups to our buddy Steve Anderson, owner of Third Eye Comics, one of the best comic book stores that we just had. Batman or Superman, Kenny? Who do you prefer?
Oh, damn. Oh. Okay, this is, oh, geez. Like, if I'm reading it, I prefer reading Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's so tough. If I'm watching, for example, like an animated movie, because DC's got some awesome animated movies. They're so fucking good. They're like the things I look forward to the most in my year when a DC movie is released. Superman and Batman are pretty much like equal in my opinion. Like Superman versus the Elite was so good.
Yes, it
Return of the Dark Knight was one of my favorite movies of all time. Not just like as an animated movie. I felt it, man. That like resonated within me. It's unbelievable.
Especially that last scene when Joker zap out and just start just randomly running and shooting people.
It's
that
nuts,
scene,
yeah.
Yeah, that scene was just hard. Like that.
I remember seeing that comic, the actual comic at the gas station when I was like a young kid, because I used to rollerblade to the gas station and buy my mom the newspaper every Saturday. So, like, I was too young to get it back then. So for me to see like the adaptation now, not knowing how it went, it's just unbelievable.
Wow,
unfreaking believable. It was perfect. So much emotion.
I mean, me personally, and I know I start a war because I've gotten wars with people verbally about comic books. I have a big comic book collection. I know NSC Gameboy collection. All due respect to Christopher Reeves, you know, I grew up with Superman and, you know, Gene Hackman, but I can't stand Superman. I
hear that a lot, though. I hear it a lot.
He is, in breaking news, by the way, fans, if Kenny Omega agrees to it, I believe Pat Tanaka will not be able to join. Something last minute came up, so we will be bringing him back in.
Okay.
I can't stand Superman. The most unrealistic. He's impervious to everything. He's the John Cena of comic books. You know, super strength, super speed, the eyes, and all this stuff. Then
I know you probably didn't see it, but the animated series of Superman. I mean, his powers really kicked down a lot, and it was great.
That was good. I will give the animated series of Superman was good. I will give him that. But after Christopher Reeves went on to be with the Lord, Superman sucks. It was his point. He's like, Superman. Same tights, little ass curl. He's so strong he can't tell a woman how he feels. Yes, Tech is going on a rant. And now you got
have the same problem though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
He's more realistic.
You're realistic. And you got Man of Steel, which is Dragon Ball Z. I don't know, 2 million people died in Metropolis. I'm sorry, Smallville. Captain Zod yelling for no apparent reason. And Superman is British. So Superman went from being American to being British.
Superman's an alien. So that don't you can't call any type of
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't hate Superman. I just prefer Batman, and big ups to a couple buddies of mine that we have a lot of wars verbally with Superman, who's better Superman or Batman. I always say this: out of money, out of media, who do you see? Batman. Who's in them Superman movies? They done rebooted about 18 times since Christopher Reeves. Batman broke records. Batman needs to be with Superman so he can become relevant. And I'll pretty much end it there. NSC Gameboy, your thoughts on Batman and Superman?
Oh, okay. Since we got Kenny on, I want to ask this question. This has been the burning question of 2014.
Okay.
Ben Affleck, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
You know what? I'll tell you why, hell yeah. Because, I watch a lot of movies, and I try not to bias, like, any one actor. Like, a lot of guys, they hate Tom Cruise, so they'll never watch his movies ever again. But I think Tom Cruise has a lot of good movies. And I'll keep watching Tom Cruise movies, regardless of how wacky he is in his personal life. You know what I mean?
He'd be in the new Dr. Force movie.
So, a lot of people dislike Ben Affleck because of things like Jiggly or whatever, or Giggly. I can't even remember what it's called. But if you watch some of his more recent stuff, like, for instance, The Town, I mean, he nails it.
Very good movie.
Yeah.
You know? And I think did he write and direct that movie? The guy's a goddamn genius.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah, so I mean, if this is like Ben Affleck of like 15 years ago or whatever, maybe there's cause to be worried, but I think he's got it. And I think he's actually going to show up jacked, too. That's just my opinion.
Well,
I think he's going to be... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go, Kenny, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think he might end up being the best, most physically in-shape Batman that we've seen on screen. And probably the most emotional. I really like Christian Bale as like an actor. I mean, I loved like American Psycho and stuff like that. And The Machinist was awesome.
Yeah, great movie.
But yeah, I think Affleck's the way to go. For sure, it's the way to go. I think a lot of people like. Someone on the internet will say, "Oh, Ben Affleck sucks. He's gay," and then they'll look on the internet and they'll see that someone posted that and go, "Oh God, I have to agree with this guy, otherwise I'm going to lose friends." You know?
Yeah,
everyone's just like being a yes man. Fuck that. He's going to be awesome.
And me and Gameboy talked about this, and Kenny Omega, you'll agree. And we had to remind people, and yes fans, you know, NSC Gameboy Intact, we do have lives outside of wrestling, and we're into other things. Is that people got outraged? Oh, why Ben Affleck playing Batman? Oh, Christian Bale, you couldn't know. Dude, do look like a carver. You couldn't even understand him.
Yeah,
now,
that's true.
Remember a few years ago when it was announced that God rest his soul, Heath Ledger was playing the Joker. Me and NSC Gameboy's Joker was Jack Nicholson. To me, one of the greatest Jokers of all time. So when I first heard Heath Ledger was playing, I was wait a minute, the little white actor from 10 Things I Hate About You, whatever it was, and
Brokeback Mountain.
you know,
Brokeback Mountain. Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, Brokeback Mountain. What the hell is he playing Joker? I love Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was our Joker. We're not old enough for the Romero and the West Joker. But when Heath Ledger played that role, to this day, and big honorable mention to Mark Hamill, because Mark Hamill was a great Joker on the animated series. Heath Ledger did an awesome job. Great job.
It's become legendary. He set the bar too high.
So
like, because of Heath Ledger's Joker, I think it made Batman not just a good superhero movie, it made it just like a really good movie. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say that like The Dark Knight was a good superhero movie. It just was really good as a movie. And a lot of that was because of the way what Heath Ledger brought to the table. So, I think it goes to show you, like, if the actor really devotes himself to the role and isn't just taking a paycheck, you know, they can do some unbelievable things. And I think Affleck is one of those guys that when he's got passion for something, like for directing and when he wrote The Town, things like that, it becomes a masterpiece. So I think he's probably going to take Batman just as seriously, I think. But, you know, who knows? We just got to wait and see.
Real quick, Kenny, honorable mention, if you want to watch a bad 80s action movie, you know the American Ninja series with Michael Dudikoff and
I know it. Yeah, I definitely know it.
Try to get a hold of American Ninja 5.
Oh, damn.
D-Worst.
It went up to 5?
Yes, it does.
I seriously thought it ended at 3.
We will personally, Kenny, try to, and we'll talk off air after the show this week. We will personally try to send you American Ninja 5. It is one of the worst action movies with ninjas in history.
Is it like, but worst but best at the same time, right?
Yes,
that's
it's
what
so bad.
I'm hoping
good.
for. Yeah.
There's
a movie.
Yes, it's
There's
so
a movie
bad.
that my buddy found in Japan, and it was called like Karate Tiger or something. But the actual title was No Retreat, No Surrender. Unbelievable. I mean, it's probably considered like the cheesiest like B movie. It's like one of Van Damme's first. It might even be his first movie.
He was a villain. He was the villain at the
That's
end.
right. Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
I remember that movie. Actually, I saw it like a year ago, actually, on cable.
What did you think? Honestly,
it's very cheesy. It's
very cheesy, but I thought it was incredible.
It was, the fight scenes wasn't that bad, but you know, for its time. But the dialogue is what dragged it down.
I think the dialogue is what made it awesome.
Oh, you think dialogue? Oh, okay.
Like, I mean, some of the cheesy jokes, the cheesy one-liners. Oh man, like it was one of my. It's when I'm in the mood to watch like those little action movies. That's like the standard that I'm looking for. It's got to have like that kind of cheesy sort of dialogue, you know, the sort of inspirational training scene, and then like the big fight at the end, like the last boss kind of deal. It doesn't get much better than that, for me anyway.
So you're a fan of Army of Darkness also?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, like stuff like that. Like I love.
Best cheesy line.
Yeah, like, yeah, I mean, yeah. For sure, for sure.
Homie Adonis is great. Big ups to Bruce Campbell too. Speaking of training and motivation, Kenny, and
Yep.
if you have a few more minutes, Kenny, we'd like to keep you on for a little bit if that's fine.
Sure.
Rocky IV. In my opinion, the best training montage, one of the best, if not the best training montages in history of movies and cinema.
It's not
everybody
one of the
likes
best.
it. You watch the movie for the training montages.
I'll have to disagree with you. It's not one of the best training montages. It
is
the best training montage by far. Yeah, the training is unbelievable. The whole soundtrack, it's like the best movie soundtrack of all time. I don't know. I can't think of anything more inspirational than listening to the Rocky IV soundtrack. I really can't. My sort of one of my dreams is for somebody. It could be just some guy, a fan, some sort of big production company, is to put together something of that quality, whether it to be to my matches or a training montage or something. I'd feel like my time on this earth was well spent. But yeah, it's and not just the training part either. I mean, I love the actual movie too. It's great. It's my favorite Rocky of all time, easily.
It is. So, Kenny, are you like a lot of the Rocky fans that act like Rocky V never happened?
No. You know what? It's as a whole, the movie wasn't that good. But you know what? As being a professional wrestler and having a ton of injuries and really feeling it creep up on you, not only in your your back and your shoulders and your joints and in your head, I really felt that opening scene where Rocky realized that he was getting punch drunk. It was scary for me to see that, because there are times, when I find myself stumbling over my words or forgetting things, and it's damn, you take that kind of punishment day in and day out, and it happens, and you have to make a dramatic life change. I'm just plugging away, and I'm trying to be safe as I can right now, but after seeing that scene and seeing how Rocky did something so inspirational in the fourth movie, it's just inevitable that eventually you break down, and everybody breaks down. So to see that beginning section of 5 was hit me hard.
Yeah.
It really did. I mean, the rest of it, I don't know, whatever. It's just kind of whatever. It's sort of I like the beginning scene. I sort of think they overplayed them getting fucked over by the guy or whatever that somehow took all their assets and stuff.
Yeah.
But I like the last scene where he says, "Sue me for what?" I don't know. I like it. Where he uppercuts them under the car hood.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's sort of an air sandwich. The two pieces of bread at the beginning and end were good, but then there's nothing in the middle.
Sure.
It's really forgettable, But I'll never forget the "Sue me for what." I don't know. It's a good one-liner. One of Stallone's best. I always kind of wanted to say that in real life, to be honest.
And big ups to the thermal tops, because ever since that, I wanted to wear thermal tops. You remember Rocky?
Yeah.
With that big old, and I don't know how.
Yeah, he sort of always had big fashion statements in the Rocky movies. I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah, he did. NBC Gameboy, you got any more questions real quick before we move on to wrestling, before we let Kenny go?
Oh yeah, well one more question I want to have, and this is of course about wrestling. Now that you're associated with New Japan and everything, we know that you're going through your transformation of being one of the most recognizable wrestlers in the business. Have your goal of being the best, have it changed, have it wavered, have it, with you being with your family right now and it being quiet time right now, sometimes when your goal for perfection or being the best or being who you supposed to be, you you lose track, you fall off the road, you stumble. Do you think that you finally came to that revelation, or do you think it's more to go? It's still chapters to write.
That's a good question. A very good question. Yeah, I feel like it's been a long journey to get to where I am now. I felt like I was ready for the New Japan step in like 2010, if we're going to be honest. But for whatever reason, things happen, and I'm not sure if I'm like a real big believer in destiny or not. I mean, who knows? But things did happen that I'm glad did happen. If I was in New Japan from 2010 on, I wouldn't have been able to main event at Budokan, which is crazy. And I was able to like just go and literally lay everything on the line against Ibushi in a singles. I wouldn't have been able to wrestle against the 9-year-old. You know what I mean? That happened after 2010. And these are all things that really helped my career. So, or at least, the storybook that is my life, I'm glad I could look back and say, like, I did that and I did that. And it just tested me not only as, like, a wrestler, but kind of as a human being, too. They're like, I'm glad that nothing was really handed to me. I think a lot of guys, you'll see them pop up in New Japan or any promotion, and the only reason why they're there is because the company made a deal with another company to bring them out. And it's like, okay, this is the deal. You come in, here's the title, have fun, and then whatever. When it's over, just get the fuck out. And then that guy will leave and say, like, hey, I won the title. I was the best. But, no, you weren't. You know what I mean? I want to be able to say that, I worked hard for everything, and that when people look back on my time in Japan, they can say that, it was worthwhile and it was memorable. And I wasn't one of those guys that just kind of like here today, gone tomorrow type deals. And that's sort of the reason why I haven't pursued WWE or TNA or whatever. I don't want to leave any stone unturned in Japan. I want to, like, finish it, doing as much as I can, while I'm healthy. And then once it's done, maybe something else. But for now, I feel like I've done everything I can with DDT and outside of DDT, and really the only thing left for me now to do in Japan is, like, as a wrestler, is to be in the biggest promotion there and succeed. And I feel like I'm ready for it. So, I mean, I've really given everything, like, everything in my life to be somewhat of a success in Japan. Time with my family, giving up relationships, everything's, crumbled and fallen apart. I've missed a lot of important events of, friends and whatever, deaths and all that, just horrible things that have happened while I've been away. I guess it was all for the dream, all for this mission that I've had for about 6 years now. And I think with the New Japan thing, it's like the final step. And to do, like, the biggest things I can do, whether it be as like a junior or a junior and then moving up, I don't know. But I'm just make it as big as I can while I'm there. And I hope to be like, one of the junior guys. Like, I want to be kind of like when people that are really young watching New Japan now, when they grow up, I want to hope to be like a Dynamite Kid type of reference, or like Stan Hansen, Right. That's sort of my goal. Yeah.
Now,
you want to write track?
Yeah, you are. And we had confidence in you, and you always been one of our favorite performers. And we thought this way before we even thought about this show. Before the show was even a thought, before it even came to fruition, we always thought you were great. We even told some people, hey, Kenny Omega's great, man. You need to Hadouken, man, he's a great guy. He does a lot of great moves. And you had, like you said, your repertoire was wide. It wasn't just the same old 5-6 moves. And Kenny Omega, what he gonna do? Shoulder block, clothesline, or he gonna do a backflip. You had a lot of different matches, which brought variety to it, which winds your fan base the way if you like crazy matches and 9-year-old kids getting wrestling outside in the park, or blow up doll, or what have you. You could watch it if you like actual, more traditional wrestling, Ring of Honor matches that you've done before in the past, or whatever. You could watch you. So we always thought it was great.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Real quick, if you don't mind talking, yeah, you have. You don't mind briefly talking. You went developmental in WWE. If you could for a few minutes, talk to us about, if people don't know, about how it was for you in developmental in WWE. Who you with? How did you like the training? What was your thoughts of WWE before and after?
Before and after, very good question. I had actually went to a camp trying out to be a student for Pro Wrestling Noah, which is a Japanese promotion out in Japan. And it just turned out, I'm trying to make a long story short, that instead of going to Japan, I was scouted by WWE instead, by John Laurinaitis, or Johnny Ace, however you guys know him as. And I really did want to go to Japan, but I thought, I was the only guy chosen by WWE, and I mean, it's a great opportunity, and I'd be just an idiot to pass it up, so I should try. I didn't even know who was in WWE at the time. I hadn't watched it in forever. The only wrestling I had watched were, DVDs I'd bought online for Japanese promotions and stuff. That was the only stuff I was keeping in touch with. So, whatever, everybody, all the American guys want to be part of WWE, and I thought I should probably strive for the same goal. That's where the money is. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd convinced myself, at least. So, I went there, and it was really grueling physical training. Wow. We were training to be MMA fighters. We weren't really trained to be professional wrestlers. But because of that, I actually liked it. I enjoyed it because that's the kind of training I like to do.
Okay.
A lot of people hated it, and they actually use that. They say that was one of the worst parts of the experience of being in Deep South, was because the training was not really applicable to wrestling, and it was just too grueling. But I didn't really want to wrestle and take bumps in training. I've always been the kind of guy that hated falling for no reason. I mean, why do it? I hate doing stuff like that. It just hurts. I'd rather do a bajillion push-ups and squats and stuff instead. At least I feel like I'm getting stronger and faster and things like that, I feel like I'm actually doing something positive rather than just doing damage on myself for no reason in front of no one. But a lot of wrestlers, they're the opposite. They'd rather just practice matches and moves and stuff in their off time. But anyway, the problem with Deep South for me was that there was sort of a group, I guess it was a clique sort of, that were in tight with the boss, and they would always go out and drink and have barbecues and stuff. And when WWE would say, okay, who are the guys we should look at? The boss, Bill DeMott, would say, I want you to look at this guy and this guy and this guy. And of course, they're all his buddies that he hangs out with on the weekend. And, here I am, trying as hard as I can, most of the time one of the only guys that can even finish the drills, and I'm running some of them 2 or 3 times because other people are dropping out, thinking that hard work pays off, and then it didn't. So it was just really deflating, it was really discouraging. So that when agents would come, I would submit to them storyline ideas, because I just wanted to get out of there. I thought if I could walk down that aisle just one time on Raw or SmackDown or whatever, on Shotgun Saturday Night, I'm gonna say oh, it was worth it. It was worth all this. So I kind of hung on to that hope for a little while, and the guy that I was kind of in communication with, he got fired. So I just thought oh well, there goes my hope. It's back to the same old with no silver lining. And I started to kind of look for other options. So I was contacting All Japan Pro Wrestling and stuff like that. Right. And I just thought if I'm not happy here, I should go to where I am happy, and I can at least use this experience to get me somewhere else. So it looked like I was going to head to All Japan straight out of developmental, and then that fell through. So I don't know. it was like suddenly I had just no wrestling job, and I was actually going to retire from wrestling altogether, but something kept me in it. Yeah, actually, I say something kept me in it, but as simple as it sounds, what was meant to be my last match, I wrestled AJ Styles in a singles match. He was the reason why I decided to keep going with it.
Yeah. Big ups to AJ Styles.
Yeah, big ups to AJ, man.
And
yeah, he was just like, I just sort of felt like, wow, there are like freak athletes, guys that are just in incredible shape and are fun to wrestle, and have like the same kind of like outlook on matches as I do. So maybe I shouldn't give it up just yet. So I gave it like one more run on the indies, and next thing you know, here I am.
Well, we're glad that you say.
That's why I decided to come up with a video game shtick. It was because like I'm just going to give it one more run in the indies and be myself, have fun.
We're glad you can resume game.
Yeah, man, you done wonderful.
Yeah, you have, and that's good. And it's sad that WWE, didn't see your talent, or say they saw your talent, but you didn't want to use it to the next level. And instead, I think that you will be great for them to bring something different. No, not to WWE. We are, friends and cool with some former workers and people that still have ties with them, but just something fresh, and that's what we really wrestling needs now. Something new, something fresh, something it needs a variety. It needs difference, like it was in the 80s. Where, you had your Dick Murdochs who were big, and your Dusty Rhodes, and you had your Flairs, and you had your Stings, and you had your Road Warriors, and the Russians, and then you had, your Ron Basses and your Bret Harts. And you had a variety of characters, and everybody looked different, thought different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pat Tanaka,
there you go.
To him. Good buddy,
sure.
good buddy of ours. Real quick, who trained you? Bill DeMott trained you. Who else trained you? Was it Rip Rogers? Was it Dr. Tom Pritchard? Was it who helped mainly train you during that time?
It was Dave Taylor actually, and
oh man.
Yeah, like I would say, Bill did a lot of the calisthenics and stuff like that, conditioning training. He was in charge of all that. But the actual wrestling training was Dave Taylor, and my God, like I never really valued like basics and things like that. Back then I didn't. I just always, was sort of, I was into like pro wrestling Noah in the year 2000 and stuff, where it was just like false finish, just mayhem every match. So I really only, thought about the how are we going to end the match on like that huge high note. So Dave Taylor really like hammered away, the basics and the stuff that I needed, not just like in the big move section, but like, the in-between stuff and the beginning stuff and the middle stuff. He taught a lot of holds that people don't really use, that are used like in, where in the UK and things like that. I would say if I didn't train with him and use what I learned there, I wouldn't have been able to keep up with a lot of the guys that were wrestling in the American Indies and in like the UK Indies and stuff like that. So, yeah, the actual wrestling training when I was with Dave Taylor was awesome. And we had guests and stuff too, like William Regal came in a couple times. Malenko would come in. Benoit would come in. It was, we always had a lot of guests. Dr. Death came in at one point too. Hardcore Holly came in to kick our ass a couple times. It was all good learning though.
Real quick, is it true with the rumors of him being a bully? Is that true?
It's absolutely true. I don't know what the guy's problem. He's just like grumpy. But
maybe he needs a hug.
I mean, like he. I remember one time he got mad at one of the guys, and he kept punching him in the face, like on a lockup. He would purposely, it's like a collar and elbow tie up or whatever.
Right.
But instead of doing like the collar, it was like punching the nose elbow tie up. And one time we were doing this drill, and I had run it 2 times with some guy because I was one of the only guys that could take a drop kick and go over the top rope. So Hardcore Holly was like, okay, I want you to do this drill with me to show everybody how you do it. So Hardcore Holly goes to give me his drop kick, like the Hardcore Holly drop kick, and he destroyed me with it. So I couldn't really get over. I tried to go over the top rope, and I got sort of stuck in the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
So he got so pissed off because I guess he was embarrassed that, my part of the example was fucked. So he got up and he just took my head off with like a face clothesline. And yeah, I mean, it was stuff like that. Like he'd punch guys in the face, he'd clothesline me in the face, and everyone's all bleeding and stuff. If you fucked up in a drill, he'd come up from behind you and do like rear naked chokes and stuff. It's just weird, man. It was kind of scary. It's like what kind of Bob Holly we were gonna get? Everyone was always hoping, because he always showed up late too. So there would always be like an eerie silence, like, oh my God, please tell me he's stuck in traffic, or he's just not gonna show up today. And then like 10 minutes would go by, and then he would walk in and he would just be pissed off. Like everyone, you just felt the morale drop. But
so
yeah, that was Bob Holly.
He's a real life
evil,
right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Definitely.
Real quick, before I let you go, one more minute. Let us know your best match you've had so far and your worst match that you've had.
Oh, man. Oh. Well, I've had so many different kinds of matches that, like, I think my favorite match where I thought that I really laid it all out, like just gave it everything I had, was that like 40-minute match I had with Ibushi at Budokan. It sort of meant a lot to me, like personally. It wasn't the most fun match that I've had in my career. I could name like a bajillion other matches that were like super fun and stuff that people would say were match of the year or whatever, match of the night. But to me, personally, to make it to that point in main event Budokan was really important. Worst match, it's unfortunate that I don't think it's ever going to be seen, but there's like a Californian promotion type thing. It was called like Wrestling Revolution or Wrestling Retribution Project or something like that. It was supposed to be sort of like a WWE alternative. Really big funded, like cool sort of next level wrestling type thing. And everyone had a deep storyline. Everyone had their own character. Like I was Scott Carpenter, the Cornerstone Scott Carpenter. And I'd met this guy, and everybody in the first few episodes got like an enhancement guy to work with. And I'd met this dude, and he said, oh, please pick me to be like your enhancement guy. I know all your stuff. I watched all your matches. I think you're like the greatest. Like, let's work together and have a great one. So I said, oh, geez, well, thanks for the kind words. And let's have a good one. And it was like one of those times where I could have just wrestled against no one, and it would have been a more entertaining match. It was like when you wrestled, I could have just pulled a guy off the street and had a better wrestling match than with this guy. And we had to cut the camera so many times because he was just out to lunch. And it was just one of the most embarrassing times of my life when I had begged the agent or whatever. It was Tommy Dreamer. I was like, please tell me we can shoot it again. And they'd refused or whatever. And I saw the guy from time to time in California, like in other promotions, and he's a really nice guy, really friendly and stuff. But it was just a goddamn train wreck. There was like a lot of phantom clotheslines and like headbutts to the groin and stuff like that, like unintentional. It was just like watching like a Three Stooges episode. It was really bad.
Oh man. Well, yeah, Kenny Omega, we thank you much. The fans, if you're listening now live, or you're going to listen to archive, all those on PWP Radio, listen on ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com, listen on Blog Talk Radio, /PWP Radio. This is an exclusive. This is a rare moment that you're witnessing. We have the great Kenny Omega. He only does one episode a year, which is like Christmas or the Undertaker's match each year, however you want to call it. We have him here Live. He not only gave us an hour, but gave us extra time, overtime. Kenny Omega. Since you like video games, this is DLC content right here. Got extra.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
With Kenny Omega.
Actually,
except for this deal.
The extra time comes in because I felt like we talked about so little wrestling, I had to make up for it.
That's the great thing about our show, NXT Gameboy. Under the Mat Radio, we talk about wrestling, video games, comic books, movies, some of everything. That's why we're blessed to have the show that we have, and everybody tends
There's
to
a lot going on that just in the ring,
yeah.
You know? And we want
that's so true, yeah.
We want these shows that we do. When you come on Under the Mat, we want the wrestlers and the fans to know that you do have a life outside the ring. When the bell tones in 1, 2, 3, you get up, you go in the back. You know, you have a life. I mean, you have hobbies, you have interests.
Yeah, barely, but yeah, I got something going on for me. I guess.
You got one last thing I want you to do, and I need you to do this. I want you to yell out Hadouken one time for our fans, so they can all hear the Kenny Omega Show Hadouken
level 3.
Level 3 Ultra Combo finish. So they know. Give it one time, Kenny.
One time?
One time, baby.
All
one
right,
time.
Yeah. Okay. You ready for it?
We're ready.
Yeah.
I'll give it everything I fucking got. It's gonna be. I'm gonna summon it all up from the inside the pit of my gut.
Do you need me to count you down?
All right. I'm gonna put myself in a mad situation. Here we go.
All right. Here we go.
Give me a countdown or something.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, God!
Yeah!
That was great.
Yeah!
That was great.
Great, man. Great.
There you have it.
Well, Kenny, thank you much. Real quick, anything you want to go ahead and plug in case any fans or listeners may want to try to get in contact with you after your matches?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
I mean, I don't have like any sort of official website or anything, but a lot of my stuff's on YouTube. A lot of my stuff's on Daily Motion. PWG Wrestling, some of the greatest wrestling on the planet, bar none. They just came out with their Bola, Battle of Los Angeles, nights 1, 2, and 3. I'm really proud of all those matches. Please pick up those DVDs. I got a YouTube channel, which isn't really used for much of anything except for me uploading a couple of my Street Fighter matches. But I'm hoping to get hoping to do some kind of webcast of some sort in the near future. And it's probably going to be just like this show. It's going to be a lot of game talk, a lot of game playing, and just like everything with very little relation to wrestling. But yeah, that's something I got in the works. So really, there's nothing done right now, but just support PWG, support New Japan, support Japanese wrestling, and support me tooling some scrubs online in Street Fighter 4. So.
PlayStation or Xbox?
But while looking like a scrub in the process.
PlayStation or Xbox? Which one do you got?
Oh, right now I'm on PlayStation. I know Xbox is a better version, from what I hear, but I've always just been a Sony guy. So, yeah, okay. I'm on PS3 right now. I haven't got a PS4 yet, but shit, what is my name on there? I think it's just Kenny_Omega for my PlayStation ID.
Folks, if you come past Kenny / or was it backslash /?
No, I think it's the underscore. Sorry, underbar. Or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kenny _K_Omega. If you come across him, be careful because he can only beat you in a game. He'll beat you in real life.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to add me. I mean, if you guys go, if anybody out there is a decent player and they're up for like a lobby or whatever, I mean, hook it up. I'm willing to take on anybody of any skill level. It's just all for fun, I'm always looking for good players out there. I'm just looking to learn. So please add me. We can online. It's all good.
And Kenny, when your web show start up, we talk off air. Please hit us up. We'll help support it. We'll help promote you.
Oh, please do. Thank you very much.
Just let
Yeah,
us
it's
know.
a work in progress, but it's something I definitely want to do. So.
All right.
All right, Kenny. Thank you much for your time. We'll be talking off air throughout the week about a couple of things upcoming, and thank you much for your time. And it's a Gameboy. You go ahead and end it off. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. All right.
Take care.
Okay, have a good one, guys.
You do the same. Bye-bye.
All right, see you.
All right. Everybody, that was the great Kenny Omega, currently wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Great interview we've had with him, regular and DLC content. To let everybody know, in a couple minutes, we will have also